Mindfulness Collective. This right here, right now, is the joy of being a live stream coming to you live from Brooklyn, New York. Folks, very happy to be here with you. I'm happy for today's special episode. This is the one that's actually happening as opposed to the ones that didn't happen. So happy folks are able to be here. And hit me up in the chat here. As everyone may already know, there is research that says if you are willing to list things you're grateful for, it tends to increase your sense of your experience of happiness, or rather fulfillment. So where am I? I am in Brooklyn. And what am I grateful for today? IFS therapy. Boy, hell yeah. Excellent, folks. So where are you at? What are you grateful for? Glad people are joining us. Thank you for your patience. I'll explain everything, what's been going on, and we'll go from there. If folks are watching this in playback, this is something I'm trying to remember to say. All of the time codes are there down below in the video, so you can jump to different parts of the video if you want to. Excellent, folks. So where are you coming from? What are you grateful for? I have some drawings I made here, which is like new. I haven't made drawings in a long time. 613 Style, haven't seen you in a long time. Hello from Northern California. Grateful that I'm not stuck in a dark void like Janusz. Well, I think stuck would be a bit of an overstatement. I'm more trapped in this dark void. It's funny because a lot of people hate this. A lot of people like it. It's literally like I moved my studio from one room to another, and like this is just sound foam that I have a bunch of. So it's ended up being a dark void, and some people really love it. So I'm considering keeping it. Julia, welcome. Hello from Vienna, Austria. Grateful for a good kind of stress. Excellent. You know, all sensations have some function, even if they're unpleasant. And we're going to actually talk about that today, which is exciting. Folks, I'm actually pretty excited about today. Special theme today based on a conversation I didn't get to have that I wanted to have. Good morning from Brooklyn. Grateful for reopening cinemas. Wow, okay. You're really going for it. Yeah, I was wondering about the cinemas, how good the airflow is. So that's interesting. Hello, Denny. Welcome from Harlem. Grateful for better weather that we've been having in NYC. Lovely. I'm excited to get out today. Someone was like, did you get out yesterday? Oh man, hope you got out yesterday. And I was like, not exactly. Hello from India. Grateful for rain. Oh, that's so exciting. I know that the rainy season is starting in Thailand, but I don't know about India. I don't know if the rainy season is coming. But also rain, I think it might mean that the temperature breaks once the rain actually starts. So that's lovely. I'd love to hear how that is. Okay, folks, excited about today. Like I mentioned, this was a conversation that I had wanted to have. It was, how do I explain this? Okay, so background, we're going to do meditation, and then we're going to do on the special topic. The special topic is overwhelm and despair. But as a conversation I wanted to have, folks know here on actually I won't get too into detail because I don't want to, make anyone feel strange. So it was a phone call I was supposed to have, didn't happen, timing-wise, didn't work. And then I wanted to tell this person, talk about this, my take on a couple things, because I found them very helpful for me, and I thought maybe they might find them helpful. So I thought I'd just record them on this video. Those two topics are around overwhelm and despair. And so we're going to talk about those in detail. And the good news is that maybe that's not as extreme as anyone is experiencing. Maybe you're a tiny bit overwhelmed. Maybe sometimes we experience despair, but they're scalable tools, so we can use them in any scenario, whether it's, big or small. And yeah, that's basically the general breakdown. But prior to that, folks, we're going to do some meditation. So I'm going to encourage folks to practice in stillness. Meditation is a skill set, and in the same way that you want to, be in a certain position if you're doing certain, exercises, the posture that I'm going to recommend for meditation is going to be still. Now, whether that's lying down or whatever, that's up to you. But matching your energy level, if you're sleepy, you don't want to be lying down. If you're really overly energetic, you don't want to be necessarily moving rapidly while you're doing the meditation. But I'll be guiding for sitting. The way that you're still while sitting is making sure the knees are lower than the hips, sitting at the edge of your cushion or support. and then we'll go from there. Also, P.S. I finally got this working, which I'm very excited about. Let's transition here. See, to you, this might just look like a weird black square here blocking up the screen, but what it actually is a place for me to draw diagrams of various things, which is awesome. That was a long time coming. It's been years, actually. So that is exciting because I always want to draw a diagram. I got to get back into thinking from diagrams because I thought about that for a long time, or I would think that way for a long time, and then I just stopped thinking about diagrams because I couldn't draw them on the stream. So let's see here, monitor 2. Let me fix this. Beep, bop, boop, boop. Great. Okay. Excellent. Folks, let's do some meditation. Can you draw a diagram of Sila? Can I diagram of Sila? Okay, before we meditate, I'm going to draw a diagram of Sila. This is pretty bad. I can already tell because I don't do like caricatures or anything. Okay, diagram of Sila. Actually, you guys don't know. If you're asking about Sila, then you probably don't know about Bea. Bea is coming. She'll be here in less than a month. Bea is the most adorable and is coming soon, and I want you to see Bea. This is Bea. Oh, crap, I don't have the other camera set up, so okay, this is Bea. Can you see this? I don't have the doggy cam is unplugged, I think. Doggy cam unplugged. Is doggy cam working? No, doggy cam is not working. Sorry guys. This is the best you're gonna get. That's Bea. I gotta get a better picture. I gotta send that picture to myself so I can put it on the screen. Bea is gonna be here in less than a month. So I'll draw a diagram of Bea before we begin. Okay, so Bea has little doggy eyes. Oh, wrong pen. Okay, so folks, get in your positions, your meditation positions as I'm doing this, because this is just for no reason, just for fun. Bea has little doggy eyes. And let's see, little doggy eyes. And she's very cute. She has little doggy teeth. And she has big doggy eyebrows. And she has her little doggy ears. That's pretty accurate. There we go. That's what the new dog will look like. Excellent, folks. So let us jump into meditation, and then we'll go from there. Disappointed the new one isn't named Panna or Samadhi. Maybe, her name's not set yet. You know what's funny, though? We named her Sila, and we're like so excited that all of our Buddhist friends would be like, yeah, nice. Just fun. It's like, oh, yeah, that'd be cute. People will be like, oh, my God, Sila. I swear I could count on one hand the number of people who are like, oh, I understand what those words mean. It was just funny. So it was just surprising. I thought more people would know what we were talking about. But her name is Bea, which is short for Beowulf the hero. So she does have a historical referent in her name also. So, maybe we could call her Samadhi and call her Sam for short. That would be sort of cute. Anyway, that's a good idea. Okay. Speaking of Samadhi, let's do some. Folks, finding that nice comfortable position you can maintain for the duration of the sit. I'm going to encourage everyone to sit in utter and complete stillness, unless, one, you feel overwhelmed, even a tiny bit. Just go ahead and make a little movement or a big movement if you need to lessen the overwhelm. If you need to open the eyes, not a problem. It's better to ward off overwhelm than it is to let it hit us. And then if you need to move, just do so, or if you're just itchy or whatever, just wait as long as you can, maybe a minute, and then make the movement as slowly as you possibly can, staying with the object of meditation. So folks, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Happy about today's meditation. I got to think about it for a second, though, because I want to use today's meditation for the same things related to overwhelm. We're just going to do I think we'll do a really simple meditation, and maybe I'll get a little more complex later. Folks who have a more advanced meditation practice, this is just a general rule. Go ahead and move towards a little bit more advanced material, because each thing I try to teach is like an on-ramp. So, it's introductory material, but we want it to get deeper and deeper So I'm going to be doing here's what we'll do. I'm going to start out with what I call this and not this. If you don't know what these words mean, don't worry about it. But just know that you can hang out with awareness throughout this whole process. And it's basically a samadhi practice where balancing attention and awareness, but you can hang out more deeply in awareness. If you want to get a little more advanced, okay. If you don't know meditation, then this is going to make no sense to you. But whatever the object we're going to pick is, I think I'll work with, I've been doing sensations of the hands recently just to switch things up. Sensations of the hands. See if you can feel those sensations everywhere. This is a good awareness skill because awareness doesn't care about location. So actually see over time, once you sort of balance out the sensation, that you can detect them, even if it's subtle, all throughout awareness, dispersed. If you want to kick up your skills there. If you don't know the words I just used, just don't pay attention. That's what I suggest to anyone who knows me. Just don't pay attention. Okay, folks, let's begin. Find that nice, comfortable position. And when you're ready, we will begin. Beginning by taking a few comfortable deep breaths and just feeling the body rise and fall. Such a simple thing to attend to, the rising and falling of the body as it breathes. But the mind often doesn't want to. It wants to jitter around and be pushed and pulled to different sensations. And we often think if the mind wants to do something else, that's us. We want to do that. This is simply being identified with the mind. What if we want to, just for a few moments, really stay with the rising and falling of the body as we breathe? But the mind doesn't want to. It's not a problem, it's simply a gap between what we want and what the mind is trained to do. The mind is very obedient, but it takes repetition. Letting go of the rising and falling for a moment. Physically relaxing the body, so relaxing the major muscle groups, relaxing the head, including the muscles behind the eyes, behind the tongue. Relaxing the neck and the shoulders. Relaxing the arms. And as we relax the hands, knowing that there are thousands of micro muscles all the way down to the level of the bone that are often subtly gripped, even more than we can even detect physically. So letting go even more deeply in the hands as though the hands were gripped just a moment ago, and we're letting go even further. letting go of any attempt to control the breath, letting the body breathe as it will, noticing the natural tightening and relaxing of the upper chest and upper back as the breath comes and goes. Relaxing the belly and the lower back, the hips and the upper legs, the calves, and relaxing the feet. And for a moment, relaxing everywhere in the body altogether rather than any single part. This is a subtle but important difference. Much of our difficulty is when the mind can't tell the difference between parts and whole. So, relaxing everywhere is an active way to connect with the whole body in this case. We're going to begin our very simple game. And the home base we're going to use, the object of meditation, are the sensations of the hands. So without moving the body, we can ask the body sensations, how can I tell that I have hands in this moment? How do I know? There's some mental image, but what we're looking for is the sensation. We can pick both or one hand, but it's any sensation that is felt by the hand or hands. If we're relatively new to meditation, just picking one. Each hand has millions of nerve endings firing off countless sensations into a field of awareness that we ordinarily refer to as hands. In each moment, the subtleties are different. Maybe it's temperature or pressure or gravity. But in each moment, something arises, and we're training the mind to be interested. Without this kind of training, the mind just goes down any rabbit hole without our ability to choose. Kind of thought prison, a maze that we don't have any control over. So simply by attending to one thing over and over, we guide the mind to be more of a friend. We're going to use this special word each time we detect this sensation in this moment. In the mind, we simply say the word this. So we don't use that word in the mind unless we're in contact with this precise sensation in this precise moment. This is how our simple game begins. Each time we detect that in the mind, we simply say this, this, this. Choosing a pace that is steady, not too fast, not too slow. And the mind will be interested in other things. It'll be curious and explore other sensations and sounds, thoughts. This is natural. It's the mind's tendency to explore, looking for rabbit holes. And so it's our job to be interested, knowing that we have one chance to experience this within this moment. And if we miss that, we'll never detect that sensation in that moment again. And the game is to stay with this continuously, letting our connection to it be entirely unbroken. But of course, distraction arises. So if we're pulled away by anything, any other sound or other body sensation, any thoughts, the sound of my voice, judgment that this is going well or this is going terribly, none of these are problems. They're just expressions of nature. And we have a special word for these. We simply call any and all of these not this. And now our world is divided elegantly. There's simply this and not this. Remembering that whenever we use that two-word phrase, the second word is this. So even our phrase for distraction brings us right back to this. Often the mind gives us things that it doesn't know are part of the meditation. Judgments, assessments, a sense of a self. These are all totally natural. And we simply call them not this. Remembering that each time we say that phrase, by the time we get to the word this, we want to be back with the sensations of the hand in this moment. The meditation metabolizes all problems, all distractions as simply being not this. At first, these two categories can feel artificial. A lot of efforting, dividing the world in this way. But over time, the mind starts to understand this funnel. At the center is this. And all the distractions point right back to this. In this way, awareness begins to support our attention. And for the next 10 seconds, we're going to stay as close to this in an unbroken way as possible. Just to see how it goes, remembering that judgments are not bad, they're simply not this. We'll begin. Great. Noticing if in doing this we applied more effort. In a moment we'll try it again. This time less effort, more clarity, just clearly knowing rather than trying so hard, pushing. The pushing is just another example of not this. No need to count, I'll count for you, and we'll begin now. Great. And now for a moment, entirely letting go of any particular technique, turning to all of what we've been calling not this. In other words, all experience is one big collection. Without throwing all of this away, without trying to block it out, just letting this once more just enter in, be part of the atmosphere. Knowing that this and not this don't have to fight. They can support each other like a target with a bullseye, the two relating and supporting each other. staying with the practice, staying in stillness. The meditation will end when the bell goes silent. So we're increasing the challenge level because even the indication that there is an end in sight will make the body begin to prepare, the mind starts to move. So this is the most important part of this practice. This is what we've been preparing for. Allowing a tiny bit of light to enter the eyes. Eventually allowing the eyes to rest on a single point as they fully open. Returning to a connection with this. Noticing that we can practice here with our eyes open. So in this way, letting this particular moment be a great teacher. It shows us how we might bring this practice into every aspect of our life. Okay. Excellent, excellent. Beep up, beep up. Ah, Curio Wizard. Thank you so much for the raid. Very kind of you. We have not met before, I don't think. Who is Curio Wizard? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Appreciated. So some folks don't know Twitch very well. A raid is where some kind person from their own stream comes and says hello. So hello, welcome you and your team. Lovely to be here. Let's hit our friends here with our traditional welcome greeting. If you have been here before, you know what that is. So very grateful for you to be here, and very grateful that we get to hang out a little bit, answer some of your questions. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Nice to see you here. Hello, having a good day. Hello, good to see you, Curio Wizard. Welcome. Through Fire, calm. Yeah, good times. Through Fire, good call, Curio Wizard. Thank you. Didn't mean to raid mid-meditation. That's cool. You may have noticed. I didn't even notice. I don't have when I'm doing the meditation, the alerts are off. Let's see. This is the best part. Well, hopefully it's the best part. Hopefully the best part is yet to come. So this is the part where people write down what happened in their meditation. Any questions, curiosities, what was going on. So I'd be very curious from people, what happened? What was it like? What happened? What do you like now? That's my big question. And we'll get into questions. If anyone wants to jump on the Discord to ask their own questions, meditation style, the Discord is not even open. Very cool. Very advanced technology we have here. So I'll pop open the Discord. If folks want to jump on, we can chat, answer questions more directly, or if you want to just give your reports or ask your questions in the chat, we can do that. We're going to go over our section on overwhelm and despair and deconstructing those in a very pragmatic way right after we do reports. I almost didn't drink in a proper way. Excellent. I also haven't shown you my drawings. Okay, well, people are getting ready here to get their reports going, and while Discord's opening, I'm going to show you 2 drawings. Now, I'm just going to say right out that I'm pretty embarrassed because I usually don't show drawings to anybody. I went to school for fine art, and I like the bar is super duper high. It's like it has to be great, always great. And then if it's not, then like the premise is like you're not allowed to live or exist. Let's see here. And I want to be here. Discord. Beep, pop, pop, pop. Hello, I'd like to invite someone. Wait, is this the waiting room? Voice waiting room. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Copy, paste. Folks, excited. Here we go. I'm putting this in the chitty chat bang. Hit me in the Discord. Tell me if you're there. We don't have an alarm or alert yet that people are there. Oh, sweet. We got Thoughtfire giving us a little comment here. What does Thoughtfire say? Hopefully it's not... let's see. Here we go. Thoughtfire says...
I did my own meditation. I'm rather new to it. Towards the end in my meditation I got a text on my phone asking me what the time was, and I kind of spun out of my meditation. Can I ask thoughts about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically what we discover in meditation, and this is, we all know this to some degree, but we discover it experientially, and that's the big key of meditation. Experiential, not theoretical. We understand it, but we need to know it. That we experience the world, we're pushed and pulled by things from every side, constantly pushed and pulled. And we think, I'm in control of this thing, this is fine. But until we can have things not push and pull us, or we can choose when we want to be pushed and pulled, we're basically trapped. We're just being pushed and pulled and we have no real choice. So a distraction is an example of something where we're asking the mind to do this, and the distraction comes in and smacks it away and pushes it someplace else. Not a problem. That's nature. That we want to understand that is nature. It's not a bad thing. And if we can train the mind to let that sort of pass right through us and we stay with whatever it is, or just like push us away for a second and we come back, that's also totally fine. We start to train the system that it can actually navigate a lot of this stuff without having to be pushed and pulled. We think that by just doing what I want, I do this I want, I do that I want, that we're free, because that doing what we want is freedom. But wanting doesn't care if we're free at all. Wanting just wants. You know this if you've ever bought a cool, new gadget. You want it, and you get what you want. And then 10 seconds later, it's like, okay, it didn't fill the thing. It's wanting just keeps going. This is like the little kids on Christmas morning where just no gift is enough. So let's see here. Hopefully that answers your question. If it doesn't, hit me again, and we'll go from there. Let's see. Okay, I'll finish this question because you're asking again. Thoughtfire says, we'll get to other folks in just a second. Thoughtfire says,
I panicked when I didn't know what the time was. I felt like I'd been in a meditative state for years before I was suddenly snapped out of it.
Yeah, that's one reason why I'll have set a timer or these kind of things, because time thoughts are very real. So that's like a normal thing that happens, and you don't want to have to be thinking about the time. So you just go with the timer, and often the thought is, I think the timer's broken. I'll check. Is the timer? So you just gotta, to some degree, trust. We don't, when we put our alarm on at night, we're not like all night long checking the alarm, but for some reason when we're meditating, we do that. So Julia says,
pleasant but dull, tired, peaceful but distracted. Lots of my usual kriyas, arm jerking. My mind feels more peaceful now than before the meditation.
Awesome. Kriyas, just so folks know, are involuntary movements that can happen with meditation. Not a problem, just something to know that occurs. Jean NYC says,
I noticed that my mind today was more stable, focused than it has been in the past few sits. Today in particular you mentioned something that is not new to me, but hit in a new way. You said something along the lines of breaking the habit of the mind going down a particular rabbit hole every time, so you're stuck in a thought prison.
Absolutely. That's the thing that people don't understand, or don't take as important, is if we just let the mind do whatever it wants, we think it's us doing that, but the mind, this is going to go to our theme that we're going to talk about in a little bit around overwhelm. Our system, our whole system is not built for fulfillment. Our system is not built to be happy or free. Our system is built violently, if need be, to pass genetic material onto another generation. It doesn't care if we're happy. That's up to us. So we have to sometimes go against the drives of our system, because the drives are just like search for danger. And that's one of the biggest things, the system just searching for danger and especially once we start to get into like a dark place, it starts to put danger everywhere, and like we're the danger, everything's the danger, everything is colored by this world of everything being like really crummy. Gene says, I mean, you're stuck in prison if you can't break the habit. That's basically the general idea, that we can be in a sort of habit mind prison that can be pretty awful. Let's see. Okay, Nick now says,
Hi, just got home so didn't make it to the meditation, had some practice in the field instead. Got into a heated argument with a coworker about some technicality I don't even remember. And at some point during intense discussion I realized how I'm stuck in a part and we were both supposed to work towards a mutual goal but instead was acting like aggressive primates trying to attack each other. And as soon as I stopped going along with that, she immediately calmed down as well. Awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'll talk about parts in just a second.
Survival mode kicked in, I guess, and it's so common it's like normal, geez.
Yeah, so we're talking about parts, and this is something that comes up in internal family systems therapy, which I'm a big proponent of. Actually, I'm starting the official training tomorrow. Is that there are parts of us, and each part thinks it's the only one part. It's the true part, it's the biggest part, it's the most important one, and it sees the world from its own perspective. And typically it's trying to protect itself or protect something else, but it typically is only aware of itself and thinks its goals and whatever are the most important ones. So, when we get into some big argument, this is often happens. Well, we'll get into some argument or something, and then afterwards we'll be like, wow, I kind of can't believe I did that. That was pretty dumb, or I really wish I hadn't done that. It's like, well, some part of us is disconnected from that and says, I wish I hadn't done whatever this other part had done. So there's this disconnect there. So part of the premise is to view all of these parts and to see them, and like you did, be able to step aside from it, and suddenly the defense system can go down. We're not fighting for survival anymore. We're like in the hallway at work again. So yeah, okay. Let's get to today's theme. We'll see. I'm just going to kind of throw this in the air and see sort of how it works. Ask questions along the way, but I want to stick to this one topic for now. So ask questions related to this if you can. That's so great that you were able to connect mid-course. That is actually a really good sign to be able to do that in the middle of a challenge. That's actually a big deal. Even to notice it, even if you can't change the behavior, is actually a big deal. So that's a very good sign that you were able to do that. So let's get to our topic. Topic here is around deconstructing despair and overwhelm. So there's a lot to cover here, and I'm going to cover it in as concise a way as possible because I know it can just go on forever. We're going to define overwhelm as the system getting overly fixated on some detail without being able to have perspective. And because that detail is painful, the mind shrinks around it and it feels like it is the only version of reality. That is not only very painful, it can be very destructive, because if the mind cannot get out of that loop, because the mind is built out of habits, neurologically, the mind just does the same thing it's done before. It's more likely to do the same thing. That we can just get stuck there, and people can get stuck there for their whole lives. So it's, in a way, it's like we're training ourselves to do the same thing over and over again. So if we find that we're in this kind of loop, we have to find some way to break out of that loop. And there's a lot of ways. In fact, all of the ways that people talk about are valid, and we want to first say that. And we're experimenting with ourselves to say we are going to be the best, field commanders to know this stuff. Is what is the thing that will break me out of this particular habit? Now, often we can't ourselves have enough sort of fortitude in the moment. That part of us is sort of taken over, and we feel often very weak. There's a part that'll just be like, oh my God, I can't do anything and I feel overwhelmed. And that part's taken over, and it has this view of the world. And so working with another person, what it does, when we talk to another person, we get a different perspective than our own. This perspective breaks the idea that this is the one and only view of the world. This is one of the reasons why helping other people is so significant for breaking our own view of the world. This is why being of service to other people is dramatically transformative. Mother Teresa's entire thing was, Mother Teresa suffered a lot. She had huge internal pain, and she discovered helping people helped her work through that internal pain. So that's the reason she dedicated herself to it. Let's see. is that, yeah, and this relates to what ThoughtFire is saying here, taking yourself out of the equation, looking at yourself from a third person point of view and making adjustments based on how that would help the other party. Exactly. And so what you're describing here is a term called mentalizing. Mentalizing is a important and often overlooked skill that's talked about in psychology. It's the ability to see thought as thought, ours or other people's, to see that they're coming from a view. You can imagine like confronting someone. The subway is always the theater in New York. So somebody does something really weird and you're like, what are you doing? And you kind of get into confrontation versus seeing, oh man, this person is really having a hard time. They're sick or they're having a difficult, really they're struggling. I don't have to get involved. I can actually step back and, and be involved in a different way. It's very hard to do that with ourselves. So one of the tricks is to get someone else there to talk to us so that we can reflect back. This is a lot of what's called patient-centered therapy is. You say, the world is like this, and the person reflects back and says, it sounds like you're saying the world is like this. And even hearing our own words back will be like, well, not really like this, it's more like this. And we start to have that reflection. That reflection ends up breaking that difficulty. Not that we need necessarily therapists. It could be a friend, it could be a loved one, etc. But getting outside of our own perspective is very important. The problem is, and this is where despair comes in, there's a kind of funnel trap that despair works, that how despair works. And if we get totally caught in that trap, we are stuck. We can get very, very stuck. And so the only, the dark side of overwhelm is despair. The dark side of despair is like suicidal ideation. The dark side of suicidal ideation is suicidal action, or, homicidal rage, etc. So all of these things work. ThoughtFire is saying, what about a mirror? A mirror is a good trick to do that, to get outside of ourselves, and it works in some cases. Sometimes saying things in the mirror is actually a valid approach. I also want to say that there are a million wacky approaches, and I tend to be very practical, but I don't want to say, talking to a mirror, that's so dumb, because if it works for someone, I don't want to be like, that's dumb. I don't do it. I find that sometimes, whatever I've tried in the past, just people say it works, so I tried it. But I know a few people who like really, really swear by it, so I'm not going to say I'm not into it. It does seem a little silly, but listen, I really, really support what works. I don't care if it seems silly. So that's my general take there. So let's talk about this cycle or spiral of despair. So one thing that is important to know is that the system will do the thing it's done in the past more easily than it'll pick anything else. It'll always go down the same path more easily than it will pick a new path. So breaking a cycle is hard, and especially a cycle of despair, that just means that we've been in the same cycle of negative self-talk, negative worldview, so much that it feels like this is, not only do we not know that this is a view, we think that this is the view. It's the best, most important view. This view of reality as being something wrong, something messed up. It's just, this is the best view. Not only is it the best view, it is just reality. This is reality. And I think that, and I don't know if this is helpful for people, but for me, what helped was realizing, well, of course, my negative view of reality is not like the truth. Like people say, reality is just like this, everything's bad or whatever. Of course, it's not the truth. Of course, the nature of reality, I can understand this, is radically neutral. And some parts of it are enjoyable, some parts are not enjoyable, some parts of it harm me, some parts don't harm me, but it's just neutral. It's just nature. It just pushes and pulls. It's just cosmic crap, piled together in different forms. So it's not like it is inherently negative, but my mind really does see it as negative at certain points. So, okay, maybe that's a little bit of a chink in the armor to say, maybe this negative view is not all of reality. So that's what's important. There's this other important part that is called state-dependent memory, which is that once we're in a certain place, it's very hard for the mind to remember something that is not that experience. And all of the memories that come with it come along. So we've had the experience, maybe anyone here has had the experience, when we're in despair, it seems like we've always been in despair. Of course, it's always been like this. And I remember all the times, it's always felt like this. And maybe there's that stupid period where I felt fine, but that doesn't count because this is the one really real view of the world. And I've always had this view. So state-dependent memory. And one of the things I just said is very important. Well, that doesn't count. Sure, there were moments when I was happy or instances, but those don't count. That is possibly one of the biggest dangers and one of the biggest keys to breaking through this that exists. That is what's called discounting mind. Discounting mind is violently dangerous. Discounting mind is the mind that says, yeah, I can imagine someone else being okay, even someone who's just like me, but not me. No, this is not going to end. This is just going to go on forever. There is nothing but this. This is the one truth, and reality will take this shape forever. Even when we take a nap and suddenly feel better, and for a little while, I feel a little better, the thought comes back. We're like, no, I still feel terrible, and it pulls us right back into this idea that it's like this and has always been like this. And here's the thing, this is discounting mind. Any thought to the contrary is bullshit. Any thought that things could be okay, bullshit. Any thought that this person could help me, nope, that's not true. Any thought that any of these things just gets discounted. And that is the fiery pit down to hell. Because if the discounting mind gets really sharp, it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter how good it is. It's even while something great is happening, it's sitting there going, no, this is stupid. And the mind thinks that because it can go back into this thought loop, that it is the truth. It's a mess. It's a mess. So what do? One thing, like I mentioned, is talking to other people is helpful. But if we have a discounting mind, everything another person says, and we can tell from our own experience. Every time I talk to someone, that's sort of helpful, but no, that doesn't work. That's sort of helpful, and no, it doesn't work. And I've had myself caught in this place totally in the past. And, people would give me totally good, valid advice, and I'd be like, yeah, but that's not going to work for me. And the mind would always do some little loop and say, that's not for me. And maybe some other time, maybe some other discounting. The thing is that this puts us in a huge trap where there's no way to get out. And I think that one of the biggest ways out, though, is to see, okay, this is discounting mind. Anything that gets said, listen, some people might be having such a hard time that right now, as you're hearing the words I'm saying, you're like, yeah, but no, sort of, no, not the case. And then we know that we're really in and really have this habitual experience of the discounting mind. The problem is that if we really just let discounting mind run rampant, it will crush our lives fully. This is in my experience, I've had times in my life where I've thought about suicide. I've thought about, that the pain is so much, like, Jesus, how could I even live like this? Like, life is just so awful. And it was often because of discounting mind and an inability to mentalize, to see outside of the view that I was experiencing. And sometimes that's physiological. We have physiological need for, that there's an imbalance in our brain. And sometimes it is, a combination of psychological, physiological, spiritual, interhuman, like whatever the piece is. So the key, one of the keys is to see that discounting mind is in place. The next thing is to break the habit. And that's where it gets very hard. Well, how on earth do you break a habit that's an ingrained thing that it's like the computer tells you that the computer is broken, but it never lets you find the broken part and then just says, well, brokenness is everywhere. That's all I see. This is where, we do anything we can, even for a minute, just to break that habit is like really, really essential. And folks, great. I appreciate people chatting, and I just want you to know I'm not ignoring you. But people often criticize me for not finishing a complex thought before I start breaking it up. So I'm just going to try to finish this, and I'm going to go back through every single chat, I promise. And also you can chat with each other, no problem. So we have to break the habit. That's like one of the central things. One of the ways we do that is by externalizing our experience. Writing, great way to externalize, right? In part because the hand can't move as fast as the brain. So there's this inherent loop where there's even if we're not trying to, there's a kind of analysis going on internally. Certain kinds of therapy, therapy in general, just talking to someone is really good because we can get out of the loop. And then what's funny is, we talk to someone and then they offer support and we're like, no, that's not going to work. That's not going to work for me. It's just funny because it's just the same. Once we really see it, it's so dumb. It's such a dumb constellation of pieces that we're like, wait a minute, like this is actually a really simple constellation. It's just, discounting mind, inability to mentalize, going over and over again into despair. Meditation is an excellent tool because it teaches the mind to be able to go where we want it to. And what it can feel like is that like everything is negative, everything is challenging, and we're just focusing on this one dumb little detail. But remember, it's the discounting mind that tells us this one little detail is dumb. But it's still there. There's still that detail, and that's a lot of what meditation is training the mind to care about something even when all this other material says, don't care about that. Not a big deal, not important. And then, I'm not going to get into it now, but I've recently been going through something that maybe is the hardest thing I've ever experienced in my life. It's a really hard time right now, and I'll talk about it more later when I have a little bit more clarity, etc. But what's been really important for me is talking to people, and every time I talk to someone, just in a sense, caring about the part that does actually work. That's part of my training, is when something actually works, okay, that did actually work. I know the part of me is saying nothing ever works, but even now that I know all of this material and I've done it before, still some part of me is like, nothing's going to work. I shouldn't call people. No one wants to hear from me. And it just discounts everybody, every person who could help, every person who loves me, it just, none of that counts. So we really want to, if we can, deconstruct that and know that it takes a little time, but it does tend to work, that talking with people who care about us, and drawing boundaries. Sometimes I don't want advice, that kind of thing, but those things are actually really powerful and fruitful. Is there anything else here? I'll leave it there. Let's get to comments, because I feel like I don't want to just repeat myself, and I'm sure you guys are going to think of things that I didn't, and that way it'll be more dynamic and interesting. Here we go. Nick says the following.
Mine says I already know about this. But that's an after construction, I suppose. I'm sure most of us know this, but the implementing in action component is severely underdeveloped, like just not losing awareness completely is auto-correcting or something.
Yeah. So here's the catchy part. Each part of us, even the part that's like right now I'm in a pretty good mood. I can talk about why I'm in a good mood. I was in a really tough mood yesterday, the day before, etc. I can talk about that, but this self that's currently active feels like, oh no, I've got the right view. This is the good view. This is the actual perspective. And it's a little bit distorted because it is not just, things aren't just good. That's not the nature of things. Things are neutral. They can feel good, they can feel bad, but things are by their nature neutral. This is a deeply Buddhist concept, but I like it and it works for me, and I find it to be, intellectually rigorous. So Nick was saying autocorrect, so some part of me right now can say, oh yeah, I know that. If I'm ever in despair, I'm just going to remind myself of that. And it's like, we don't necessarily have that power. So we have to outsource that. And I think that what people don't understand is that we are not a solo system. And one of the greatest forms of suffering is created when we think that humans are built to solve their problems alone. And even our politics sometimes is leaned towards this idea of the American ideal is like the solo, cowboy off on their own. We're just not 100. We are not biologically built to process emotion, to process our thoughts, to process alone. We're biologically built to be about 20 or so people together on a plane living together, so that every triumph is a group triumph and every sorrow is a group sorrow. We were built to process the material as a collective, and modernity pushes us to be like autonomous and broken apart and these kind of things, and it's not working. It's just not working, honestly. Like modernity and these kind of things, like we're suffering. The world is like an incredible pain. It's like, yeah, I think it's in large part, well, in part at least, to this real isolation and like solo, I'm going to go it alone. It works to sell products, to keep us really isolated. And this is the thing that's going to solve that inner need. The pandemic has shown us, like, we need each other. We just need each other so bad. And yet the mind says, back off. Maybe we should do this in the most isolated way possible. So let's see. Jean says,
I've sometimes been able to dissolve, I've always had this view, into components such as despair plus sense of familiarity plus disbelief. Divide and conquer.
Exactly. So divide and conquer is the name of the game in terms of deconstructive meditation practice. Here's the thing. So you can take it apart into its constituent parts. You could say which part of this is mental audio, which part is emotional, where is the emotion in the body, moving through. Another way to do that is with a spacious awareness practice where we're holding the mind in this large place. Each time we notice any individual part, we introduce that to the whole. So it's a kind of I don't even know if you call it deconstructive. It's like a totalizing thing because the mind can hold things, the larger mind, the awareness can hold things that the tiny little zoomed in mind, which is where we often operate, can't. And this larger open awareness breaks down a lot of the difference and the challenge and the discord. It's like, well, that's just the sensation within this larger field. Of course, this is a training. It takes time. But, IFS, which I really appreciate, internal family systems therapy, it points to that larger awareness and just calls it self. It's sort of very brutally, it's like tough. And we've done a bunch of videos here. There's a bunch of recordings that you might want to watch if people haven't seen the IFS internal family systems and multiple self model meditations and guided talks. Because exactly that is showing us how we can take this part and experience it as a whole. So divide and conquer, or absorb and be free, I guess we could say. Let's see here. I lost a couple people here. Man, there's a million comments. Oh no, okay, going back. There's Nick. I just did Gene. Where are we? Gene, Nick. Wait, what about a mirror? That was like way back. Oh no, I'm lost here a little bit. I thought it was G, maybe it was Julia. Oh, sorry, Julia said divide and conquer. Okay, that's why I was confused. Julia, thank you. Sorry about that. Nick says, yeah, it's the cocky teenager mind impression. So you're referring to this fact that I often will talk about the mind as being this like, yeah, I know what's up. Like the mind is so juvenile. It's so dumb in a way because it's just like, yeah, I know how this works. Reality's like this. It's always like this. I don't need you. And it's like, okay, but there's a larger view and it's not, I say this having, coached a number of teenagers and been sponsored people who are young teenagers, and they're like, I like Pepsi. Pepsi's better than Coke, and that's how it is. And I'm like, dude, you're cool. Your view is like, that doesn't matter to me in my world. He's like, no, that's super important. And it's like, this is why the mind is like a teenager. It's like, okay, cool. Like, cool. Think that's important. There's a lot of bigger fish to fry. So the cocky teenager mind is very funny. Thoughtfire says the following.
I'm not sure exactly how or when I stepped out of this discounting mind thing you're talking about. I would put it down to 2 key points, saying to myself that it's not going to beat me and lying to myself about it being unable to be fixed.
Yeah, the whole lying to ourselves that it cannot be fixed or can't be different. I mean, it's appealing, but just remember, that's another example of discounting mind. Like, this can't get better. It's like, that's just the discounting mind saying everything is like X. It's helpful also with meditation because we think that our view is the view of reality, but every view of reality is a filter. There's nothing but filters. Our seeing, hearing, feeling, our mind, our emotions, our sense of self, a sense of time and space, all of these are filters on sensory reality. They are not the nature of experiencing. So I'll just leave that there because that's a heavy hammer to drop. Okay. Exalted Bro, welcome. Great to see you here. Exalted Bro says the following.
What was the thing that made you suicidal in the first place? Be as vague as you want. Is there anything specific that dragged you into it and how to avoid it?
Honestly, if I were to give you the vague answer of the things that drove me into being like suicidal, whatever, it's this. This is exactly what I'm describing now. This is my, despair and the sense that like there's no hope. And that is, it's such a pernicious trap. And luckily after that time, I mean, really like the worst times for me was like 9/11 was like really hard when I was like, young, when I was younger. For some reason that hit me super duper hard. I mean, I'm skipping childhood because childhood was pretty hard. and then I, was it 17 years or so ago, like stopped using drugs and alcohol because actually I was using those to manage the emotions. That was just like what was happening. And not that I stopped, I needed help, I got help, etc. So that was like a very hard time. And then in that, once all those, substances were out of the way, the reason you were using them in the first place comes to the surface. And so, relationship stuff, I'd be like, oh my God, like, this relationship, it's like the only thing in the world and I'll never have another one, and not realizing like how that works. And that if I can actually mourn the loss of the relationship, with the support of other people, make those connections other places, that's not just tied into that person, that there's incredible freedom there. And I typically then will have a much better relationship on the next round, which is like a really important lesson I didn't know. And then, self-consciousness around the way I imagined people thought of me. That was like a big one. I was very concerned about how people thought of me often. So anyway, those are a few of the basic things, but it doesn't really matter what the content is. Ultimately, it's the shape that says, there's no hope, there's no way out. And, again, we're training the mind. So if we just get caught in depression over and over again, it's like if we, get caught in this level of like depression and despair, etc., that's a vulnerability forever. The mind can always go there. We don't want it to go any lower because the mind will then be able to go there easier and easier forever. So wherever it is, we have to like do everything we can to get off the train. And I know this seems stupid, but it's like everything is important. It's like all the things we have to find some way to break the habit. And sometimes we can't do very much. You know what I mean? Sometimes that means just watching movies, but watching movies is better than like drinking all day. Sometimes we can't, reach out to somebody, but sending a text and saying, I can't reach out, is better than just being like, I can't trust anybody. So whatever the break in the armor is, whatever we're willing to do, even if we can say, I'm not willing to do this, that's significant. And, again, it's like, I happen to be very good at keeping appointments. Like if I commit to something and I say I'm going to be there, like if I'm like, maybe that's not always true, but I mean, basically I think that what I'm getting to here is like with therapists, I'm like being late is wrong. You got to be on time, got to be respectful. And so like, I just show up, and I show up again and again and again and again. And I've just done 1,000,000 hours of therapy. And what that does is it just gets this thing of like, no matter how bad it is, at some point in the week, there's this break, and I talk and it changes, and sometimes it's better, sometimes it's harder, but I'm moving through material and I can feel myself moving through. The challenge is, and I'm just going to zoom out a little bit here, it's a very weird idea that there's pain and there's the other side of the pain, and that the only way to get through that is actually through the pain. It's a very weird idea, because what the mind tells us, no, we got to get out of the pain. We got to get the hell out of here. But we've avoided pain. I've avoided pain for so long and used every tool that I had to avoid pain, that now it's bombarding me. It doesn't care how much I avoid, doesn't matter what it is. And this is why people get into like heroin use, because they need something that'll stop the intensity. So the key is to get enough support and leverage so that we can move through the pain. Medication, right? Psych medication is just leverage. Doing psychedelic therapy, that's something that I've talked about a lot here on the stream. With real support of actual guides, doing psychedelic trauma therapy, very big intervention. It is leverage for life. Therapy is leverage. Like all these things, they're not like the solution, but what they do is they create leverage so that we can then manage to move through the fiber of our lives. So that's generally what I would say. Curio Wizard says, I've got to go. I hope you work out whatever is on your mind. Well, thank you so much. Very kind. Ciao, Curio. Thanks for the raid. Appreciate it. Nick says,
just breaking the mind's feedback loop feels like key, yeah, but then we might start buying into that now I have such a better and higher perspective thoughts instead. Bye, Curio.
Yeah. Again, we just have to keep coming back to this thing of whatever perspective I have is a perspective, and there is something to be gained by changing that perspective. And, going out for a walk changes the perspective. Going for, a ride in a car with a friend, or going for a swim, or going, all these things we know, like, oh, it shifts me a little bit. They all count, but what they're doing is changing their perspective from this one thing to a different perspective, a different view, these kind of things. Julia here says,
It sometimes throws me off that I can't really feel myself moving through material. I wonder if I'm justified in interpreting my kriyas as stuff being processed.
Yeah, so again, the kriyas are the involuntary movements that happen in the body. I think that's a fair interpretation, that those involuntary movements are actually the body processing, especially because if you've read books like The Body Keeps the Score, or what's the other good one? The one with the tiger. The tiger is the big metaphor. What's the one? Titration, and Stephen Levine. It's so funny I can remember all the details about it, even the author, but I can't remember. Anyway, if anyone remembers the famous Stephen Levine book about trauma, that one. Anyway, so any of these books talk about how we physically embody the trauma, and so shaking the body. I know it seems like really silly, but actually, a lot of other animals do this. They get in a fight and then they walk away, and, like they just shake, and it dispels the energy that's sort of built up. So that's that's a possibility. So the point of it is, though, that often we can't tell if we're moving through, because again, our perspective is very limited. So we work with somebody else who has experience, and you ask them, you're like, hey, is this getting better? Does it seem like it's getting better to you? And okay, here's I didn't mention this before. One of the biggest things about breaking down the discounting mind is to ask for support and then take it. To ask for the thing we need and then accept it. Because what can happen is we're like, oh, please help me, and then somebody helps and we're like, nah, fuck off. Like, I'm good. We actually have to get ourselves to say, okay, fine, I'll do it, and I'll accept the help, and I'll notice that I'm pushing back. Like, wow, what interesting. I'm pushing back. Is that discounting mind again? This kind of thing. So. Exactly, it's helpful to have outside perspective. Again, remembering we are not built to go through this material alone. We're just not. We're meant to go through it with each other. We're meant to go through it with trusted people, and then trust is an issue. So we have to find someone that we can trust, even preliminarily, to learn, because we learn trust over time. But notice if discounting mind is saying, can't trust anybody. Everybody's dangerous. Exalted Bro says,
it is said a lot of people enter the path of meditation through the door of pain and suffering. Mm-hmm. Is this the case for you? It's not the case for me, and I'm wondering how that will affect the material we face during meditation.
I don't necessarily think it's the case for me, although I think whatever door you enter in from, they say that, the three doors are, impermanence, non-self, and suffering. I did not come in because I was like, oh, the pain. I was a teenager, and I think I was in pain, but it was more exploration. It was like, wow, I want to exist in a way. I think it was towards the non-self direction. I want to exist in a way that doesn't feel so yucky. Hey, maybe that is pain. But I just loved the meditative material, especially around Zen, because it just felt like magical. And I wanted the contact with that sort of magic, transformational relationship to the world. That was my experience. That's the thing that I did, or thing that I focused on and was interested in, is this exploration and discovering reality. That was really important to me. And then I started to realize, well, I think there's actually a lot of pain there too. So I had to use, that the non-self material as leverage. And I think that just tends to be my case. I'm more of a non-self sort of direction, but again, I think non-self material is super powerful for leverage against difficulty and pain. You asked two questions, I thought, suffering. Wondering, yeah, and whatever door you enter into will affect your view, but it's just never so straightforward. It's not like one door. So yeah, okay. Hopefully that answers the question. Jean now says, and we're going to wrap up soon, so any final comments or questions, hit me with those, and then we'll go from there. Jean says,
Julia, it doesn't happen to me regularly, but one time my thumb and hand twitched like crazy during a meditation and then immediately stopped. I felt the same sense of, am I justified, but I feel pretty certain that's what it was and have decided to go with it.
Yeah. Now you guys are internal conversation, suffering and internal conflict in my case. Yeah, so it's different for different people, but just remember that we're talking about a universal toolkit that's going to work for any of these things. We're really getting down to the base of experiencing, so it's very, very powerful. And that's often the problem, is people say, well, what will it do for all this other stuff that's up here in consciousness if we're going we're cutting through all of the unconscious material down to the base of existing? It's but it's everything. There's nothing you're not in contact with as an existing human being. So that is, it affects everything. Exalted says,
Yeah, I think Shinzen said like 80% enter because of suffering and pain, and meditation is kinda like that last resort.
yeah, I think that that's the case. For me, it was really exploratory and fun, and I relate it to like making artwork, which I haven't shown you the artwork I made, guys. I'm fully embarrassed to show this artwork because I really don't like, I don't show my stuff. I don't whatever. Okay, 2 drawings here. I'm going to show you this one first, even though it's maybe out of order. Okay, this drawing. I don't know if you can see this. Okay, I just want to tell you, this is a very weird, interesting drawing to me. I had an IFS session yesterday that was, what happened yesterday? I had an IFS session yesterday talking about how like there's times when I just can't sleep, and I'm just like, like there's like, and I don't even want to go to bed. And I was doing IFS, and it was really interesting because all of a sudden I realized this part of me, which here is represented as the yellow part, this part of me was trying to warn me of something. It's like, no, don't do that. Don't go to bed. Don't go to sleep. And I sat with it for a little while, and this seems so like literal. Like usually it's not this literal, but it was really powerful. I was sitting there with it, with the IFS therapist, and again, it's with another person. Suddenly I have this like level of strength to face this stuff that I wouldn't otherwise. I was like, it's nightmares. When I was a little kid, I would have these terrible nightmares because of all the turmoil that's going on, the violence, like this sort of intensity, that I was going to be attacked. It was always like I was going to be attacked. And I think that was like the fear, right? But this part of me, here represented in yellow, this part of me was warning me. Warning, don't go to bed. It's really scary. It's a really scary place to be. It's like, holy shit. So I don't even know what these other parts are. I think these other parts are just life. These are just like other things sort of moving around. And this part's like, when it's scared, it's like, no, don't go to bed. And so I just would stay up. This is like, not all the time, but I would just not go to bed. I just don't want to go to bed. I want to look at internet, whatever. I'd lay down and be like, no, I'm just going to, or wake up in the middle of the night, big flash, like something's dangerous, hit with adrenaline, these kind of things. So the therapist was like, why don't you draw it? And I was like, okay. So I did. So this is my drawing. So I'm embarrassed because it's very personal. This is like internal landscape stuff, which is very funny, but that's what I did. Plus I've been talking to my friend Deb about drawing and color and stuff. So anyway, and then this is another drawing, which is just a study. I just wanted to do some pretty flowers. Flowers are pretty. This is an ink drawing. I wish I could hold it close to the camera because, but the camera goes out of focus when you get close. That's one of the downsides of having this camera. So anyway, this is the other drawing that I made. So it's been fun. I usually don't use watercolor, but I've just been like, screw it. Let's go. Let's roll. Okay. Let's see here. Nick, we got a few final comments here. Thanks for chiming in here. Nick says,
never had any therapy or anything, so can't really speak about it, but it seems like it can help in not blaming yourself and others for having natural reactions, not taking the stories super seriously, personally. Kinda complementary with meditation, but on a more relative scale or something, depends on what kind OFC, that goes for both. Just hanging out here feels like the best of both worlds.
Awesome.
Ciao.
Well, I'll tell you right now, this is not therapy, having done 1,000 hours of therapy, more than 1,000 hours, I'm sure. But I highly recommend it. Honestly, I can't, there's different types of therapy. Right now, my big, recommendations are internal family systems therapy. There's therapies right now that I'm not into right now. Internal family systems therapy, number one, a really functional, big, robust set of tools would be DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, over CBT. I 100% would recommend DBT. I don't recommend, not that I'm against it, but if I'm recommending, I'm going to say DBT. EMDR is excellent with a good practitioner who knows how to do EMDR. But, what I was going to say is the book, The Body Keeps the Score, is such a good resource. If anyone can read that book and doesn't identify, isn't like, oh yeah, that's me, then you're probably fine. You don't have that kind of trauma that they're describing. If you read that book and you're like, oh, okay, warning, then okay, then maybe it would be worth pursuing some of those things. But IFS is crushingly good. I really like IFS right now. It's really like singing the song for me. Nick says, oh wait, no, Thoughtfire says,
it doesn't make sense to put extra bricks on a fully loaded car, but I do really believe that by adopting a new belief in times of struggle, you can adjust the foundation which your situation is built on.
yeah, belief is powerful. Belief is powerful. Okay. There's an internal debate happening here. I want to clarify this. So Nick then responds to that and says,
all beliefs are somewhat wrong, I guess, but replacing the worst ones with newer, less flawed beliefs can't hurt, right?
okay, so two perspectives here. One is from a Buddhist perspective. We want to see through belief. We want to see that belief is a superstructure. I don't know, superstructure? No, it'd be like well, I guess it's not suprastructure. It's something like an overlay. There, simple. Belief is an overlay on top of raw sense data. At first, we might think, well, that's bad because it's an overlay. We want to get to the raw sense data, but beliefs are going to happen. They're going to happen. Rituals, we're going to create rituals. We're going to create, patterns in our mind. And this is why people see astrology as being real or see QAnon as being worth paying attention to. The mind will make patterns. So our best bet is to gear things towards building the ones that we want. So building beliefs that support us, excellent. Building, rituals that help us. I used to be I'm like, any ritual bad. We're going to make them anyway. So might as well make a ritual that helps us feel connected with the ones around us that we care about and loved ones, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not opposed to ritual. I used to be. Okay, give me a second here. I'm going to check the calendar because I got something coming up. Okay, cool. We're going to do a few more here. Thoughtfire says,
my point wasn't replacing, but when you've lost all hope, you need to create that before you can move forwards, right?
Yeah, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. And we want to see through thought and then use it skillfully. We want to see through identity, self, and then use it skillfully. So that's the real, again, everything is nature. Nothing is bad inherently. Everything is just neutral. So we want to be able to navigate this weird world of identity and self and belief and ritual and all these weird things. Usually don't talk about ritual, but all of these different aspects, and make them work for us towards happiness, because our system doesn't care if we're happy. It just doesn't. It does not. And I think people think that their system is built to make them happy. It's just not. It's not. And by its default, if we just let the system do what it wants by default, it'll be paranoid and isolated and alienated, etc. There has to be some kind of intervention, because it's more likely to pass genetic material forward if it's worried and anxious and what's the next thing, it'll survive, and that's all it cares about, is survival and passing material forward. So that's the key here. Exalted says,
those look good. IDNT know you draw, paint, although I knew you went to some art school thing if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I have 2 degrees in fine art. 2 really tough degrees in a really tough school, working my ass off. Yeah, man, that school was intense. The school has a 50% matriculation rate. They really put you through the ringer. You stay up for weeks working. It's like not med school level, but it's approaching that. So, okay, Julia.
I've had lots and lots of CBT, but it mostly wasn't very helpful. EMDR was like a miracle when it worked.
Yeah. I was giving you thumbs up because I also don't want to say don't do CBT. They correlate. The most effect from therapy is actually the relationship between the therapist and the patient versus the method that's used. And that said, I like certain methods. And yeah, I mean, for me, it's if I want to help people, I need to do the thing I'm talking about. So that's one of the reasons I do a lot of therapy. And it's also, I've just seen that it really works. It takes time. It really takes time. It takes years, but it really works. So Thoughtfire says,
thanks for streaming. I haven't been glued to my screen like this in a long time.
Yay. Someone enjoyed what we did. Well, damn, very happy you were here, had a good time. We're going to be back here in fewer than 48 hours. So listen, I don't know who can hold their breath for that long, but I would suggest starting now. Just take a couple huff and puffs, and we're going to be back here in just a few minutes. Fewer than 48 hours. 11 a.m. Eastern, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Folks, very excited that everyone's here. Let me see real quick if we should raid someone, since we got raided. Sometimes I just forget the raid process, and I'm like forget it. Who's around right now? Oh, our friend Johnny's here. Okay, let's do it. I have another person who I like who does sound meditations, but it's always reruns. Not gonna work. Okay, we're gonna raid our friend Johnny, but I just want to say right now that sometimes Johnny does stuff that is I was gonna say it's not the material I would do. Sometimes it could be a little racy, and he's been doing some. He can be funny and intense. So just I don't necessarily endorse everything. I don't oppose anything, but just want to warn people a little bit. So we're gonna raid Johnny, and then we're gonna go. It'll be like 5 seconds. So folks, I don't know if it starts instantaneously or it gives us 10 seconds, but I'm hitting the button now. Thank you all for joining. See you all here soon. And okay, it's radio 10 seconds. I think we're still here live, and then it's gonna switch over, folks. Great to see you as always. Looking forward to seeing you soon.
What is up, my friend? Thank you so much for the raid. What's poppin'? Boy, it's going a little nutsoid today. It's going a little nuts on the chat today. Got a little wild on them. But how are you, my friend? Look at my Zen Babe palace. I feel like you could appreciate. I'm become a plant boy, and I'm just trying to.
On the inside.
Look at
Great
this.
high. Nice.
What's poppin', my friend? I've been peeing like a racehorse, though, my friend, non-stop. Look, we got everybody in the chat today. How was your stream?
Don't know what I did.
The picture of Queen and her gram and Mango. Come on. I don't. It just hurt, man. It just fucking hurt.
Great.
How's the weather today in BK? Because it is so beautiful outside right now. It is so beautiful. Oh, Cal! Cal! You still here, Cal?
We talked about overwhelm, despair, and breaking that crap in half.
Fuck, I'm gonna go back and watch your
I
VOD.
thought it was the WhatsApp message where I changed Georgie's image for yours.
No.
Beautiful.
Dude, I'm gonna go back tonight and watch your VOD.
Where's I Rocket and Shaken? Yes, yeah.
They're mad at me.
Okay, friends, let's get to at least 5 subs in the next 5 minutes. We are 2 subs away.
That would be nice. That would be nice. Cal, I got up at 7. Well, 10
Just
to 7.
on mobile delay, BC, you know I like watching you from bed.
Oh, you sweet angel. Cal, I've been having trouble getting up. I was getting up
Fun fact,
forever.
that message was a secret communication between Murphy and his mistress, and Hayes also angry with me.
I don't know
Johnny
what you're
can
talking
only
about.
survive if he gets the support.
2
His
subs,
community
baby.
is supportive. Let's do it.
Mats, where did you get that photo, though? That other photo, though. Where did you get that? 2 subs, baby. What do you say? Somebody's got him. Come on. You can't let Chris down. But, oh, Cal, I got up at 7, and I went for a 45-minute walk.
At ChrisMac __, thanks for coming and saying hi too. Got it off the dark web.
Mats, what does that mean? Video nipple, you sweet pea.
I will start.
Welcome, my friend.
You angel. Video nips, I don't deserve you. Oh, wait.
Nice one.
Oh, Chris did it. Chris, thank you so much, Chris. Wait, Video Nipple and Chris did.
My friend.
You angels. So we just got, we're at 6.
Watch that.
What do you do? Oh, Julia, what do you do? Why are you getting up so early?
Thank nipple.
What was the heart rate? I have no idea, Cal, but I
We are
stayed
at
strong.
5.
We're at 5, baby. Thank you. Thank you, my friends.
Couldn't leave you hanging.
Thank you, Nips. Thank you, Nips. I feel bad begging, especially
Cal, you're
today.
awesome. I love the pirate game.
I was gonna go into your chat last night. I'm sorry I missed it.
Work.
Julia, have you been here before? Guys, I put cucumber on my face today, and it's still hurting. It's still hurting. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, I'm gonna do something while I wait. I don't know why the edition isn't loading. Oh, it did load. All right, so you're gonna laugh at my positive affirmation videos, but
I raided with Janusz, just felt like trolling about getting up times.
oh, nice.
Hurting after cucumber. Probs just dry. Thanks at Chris Mac.
Oh, did you
__,
did you see what happened?
Yeah,
oh,
at Blackout Bandito and I have been really enjoying the high seas lately, hee hee. Now let's just top up that dream fund to at least 450.
That would be
Nice
very
plants,
kind.
by the way. I want to play that game, Cal.
Chris Mac. Thank you, Chris, you angel. You sweet angel.
CHHHRRIIISSS.
That's actually hilarious. Mass, which one are you talking?
Okay, now we are feeling better. Let's rein this back to the glow up. It
It
has
was
been
a bumpy morning.
morning.
Julia, thank you for liking my plants. I'm loving my plants. I'm a plant babe now. This is great. It's so nice out, too. It's so nice
This
out.
morning was truly something.
I had a great morning too. It sucked. I can't. After a while, I can't take the everyone just sitting there throwing tomatoes. But Julia, drop a follow, my friend. If you are a fan of deep mindfulness, or a friend of deep mindfulness, you're a friend of me, my friend. Why did I come on here again? Thank you so much, Chris. You sweet angel. Oh wait, to show deep mindfulness the clip. I don't know where it went though. Maybe it's in general. Oh, here we go. This is what happened. I looked tired and sick today, so I put cucumbers on my eyes for an hour.
I'm ready to see you rip tape off your face.
Look.
I sent Veen a friend request. Nothing back. Veen, how can I hit on
Wow,
you if we
this
aren't
was supposed to
friends?
make me look better.
You dummy.
Look, it
That's
still
also Veen,
hurts.
I didn't
It
think
still
I like the game
hurts.
as much as I am. Wait, what? If mouse is not working, just throw it off the balcony.
Oh,